Professional Speaker Association of Afghanistan. This is Fredrik Haren sending a huge congratulations for creating this Professional Speaker Association in Afghanistan. It's 2.5 years ago, roughly, that I had contact with Tariq for the first time, and I'm so happy to see that this has come to fruition, even in these strange COVID times. I have been involved in setting up professional speaker associations in Bangladesh, in India, in Indonesia, in Sweden. I'm the past president of Professional Speakers Associations in Singapore, and I'm a member, proud member of 5 different speaker associations on 5 different continents. I am a huge believer in what a professional speaker association is about, both for becoming a global speaker, if that's what you want, but also to help elevate the local speaking communities all around the world. And it's so amazing that Afghanistan is able to be one of the first 20 countries in the world to have their own national speaker association. So a huge congratulations. Now I'm here to talk about, they asked me, can you speak about, Fredrik, you are a professional speaker on creativity. Can you speak about speaking and creativity? So that's what I'm going to speak about. I want to start by giving you a view on how I look at the speaking world from my perspective to your perspective, and then at the end of the speech I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how I use creativity in order to further my professional speaking career. But first let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I have been a professional speaker since I was 27 years old and a full-time speaker for more than 20 years. Actually last month I celebrated 20 years as a full-time global keynote speaker. I've done more than 2,000 speeches and I've done them in more than 70 countries on 6 continents. And my speciality is that I go around and I speak in all kinds of countries. Just last year alone, I spoke in 24 different countries on, I think, 5 continents. Everything from Indonesia and Thailand to Germany or Sweden, and I even got to speak in North Korea. And I'm not going to speak to you necessarily as the global keynote speaker Fredrik Haren, but I'm more as someone who has seen all aspects of the global speaking industry, both the local and the global perspective. I have actually restarted my speaking career from scratch 2 times. I was a very successful speaker in Sweden, and then I moved to China. I didn't know a single person, I didn't speak Chinese, and I restarted from scratch. And then in 2009, I also moved for the 3rd time, I moved to Singapore, again, with no contacts, nothing. So I have seen the big stages and the big global keynote world with first-class tickets and big audiences, but I've also seen the other side of it when you just start out, because I've started out from scratch 3 times. And when you have no bookings and you don't know if you're ever going to get one and you wonder why no one is calling you to give you a speech. Now, because you're just getting started, I want to start by I only have like less than 20 minutes. And I think that the key in these meetings that you are going to have, I've looked at a lot of speaker associations and I've seen when they are thriving. And when they are thriving is when the members of the community are sharing their knowledge and giving it away for free. And I don't have so much time, so I won't be able to share so much, but I've decided to give you 2 gifts. And I want to give you a little bit of a warning first. In the speaking community, you are going to meet some people who are trying to give you a little bit and then they're trying to charge. They're trying to sell their services to you. My suggestion is, don't jump on that. There's so much free information out there, and there are so many speakers out there who just want to share their knowledge and help each other become better. That's what this community is all about. Peers helping each other become better. So I'm not trying to sell you anything, and I never will try to sell you anything. I am giving this away for free. First of all, because I know some of you might be interested in how to become a global keynote speaker, so I've written a book about it. It's called How to Become a Global Keynote Speaker. And if you send me an email, I'm going to send the book to you for free. Second of all, I believe that the most important thing that you can do if you want to become a better speaker, regardless of what level you are on and regardless where you want to go, the most important thing you can do is to focus on becoming better as a speaker. Not the business aspect, not the selling aspect, the delivery aspect of being a speaker. So I have created another thing. This is a 5-hour online course on how to deliver a great keynote speech. And it's totally free. It's on YouTube. You don't have to log in. You don't have to register. Just go to YouTube. I did a little hyperlink there. You go there and you can dig deep into on how to develop a great keynote speech. There's more than 100 different learning points on every aspect, from how to use humor to how to interact with the audience. So there you go, 5 hours to you for free. And send me an email and I'll send you the book. This is what this community is all about. People giving away advice, sharing experience, so everyone can become better as speakers, regardless where they are, what they speak on, and what kind of speaker they are. Now, let me share with you a little bit about the community, speaking community, the speaking world from a global perspective, and maybe what it means for you in Afghanistan. And I'm going to start with the bad news. And the bad news is that traditionally, keynote speaking used to be something that was very male-dominated, very white, and very middle-aged and European or American. Actually, just before this speech, I Googled keynote speaker on YouTube, and 9 out of the 10 first pictures was a middle-aged white man speaking in front of a crowd, and the 10th picture was a white woman speaking in front of a crowd. And that is how it used to be. A keynote speaker tended to be a middle-aged white man going up on the stage and telling the rest of the world what they needed to know. And I am a middle-aged white man. So I know I have had this privilege because I've been speaking for more than 20 years, and for many of those years it was an advantage, not because of what I knew, but because of what I looked like. And I also have another huge advantage, and that is that I am Swedish. And Sweden has the best passport in the world, which means I can travel to almost all the countries. No one can travel to more countries than I can, even without having to apply for a visa. So for me, a middle-aged white man with a Swedish passport, of course, it's much easier for me to become a global keynote speaker than it is, for example, for a young woman from Afghanistan, especially when you have issues getting visas. So I'm aware of this, and that is the bad news. Now here's the good news. Over the 20 years I've been studying the speaking industry, I've seen a huge shift in just the last few years, and that is to diversity. And this is, as maybe you know, Greta Thunberg, a 17-year-old girl who has millions of followers, and when she speaks, tens of thousands of people come to listen to her. And she's a 17-year-old girl with Asperger who have no experience and no work experience, and yet people listen to her because she has something to say. This idea that we listen to people based on what they look like or the color of their skin or what passport they have, that idea is now very fastly going away. For example, let's look at men and women. I looked at TED.com, which is arguably the largest site on the internet for where people go and choose speeches they want to listen to. So this is not people selecting speakers, these are people selecting speeches, what speech they want to listen to. Now, if you look at the 25 most watched speeches on TED.com, 11 out of 25 are from women. All the ones in pink are women, which means it's almost a 50-50 when it comes to what kind of speakers, what kind of speeches get a lot of views. It's 50-50 between men and women. And that is a huge shift in mindset. Unfortunately, almost all except one are white. And that means that that shift hasn't really happened yet. But that's the next shift that's going to happen. First from all men to men and women. And there's a huge shift to that. Just in the last months, I've lost 2 speaking gigs, not because I was not the speaker they wanted, or the speech that I delivered wasn't the speech they wanted. They didn't pick me because they chose to pick a woman instead. Now, the next shift is going to happen is that people don't want to listen to white people anymore. They want to listen to people from all over the world to see what they have to say. And to me, this is a great example. This is an auto driver, a tuk-tuk driver in India, who pimped his ride and put newspapers and iPads and Wi-Fi and everything into his tuk-tuk. He became famous. He has 10,000 followers on his LinkedIn group or Facebook group in Chennai. And he started to speak. Now, this for me is he's a high school dropout. A high school dropout rickshaw driver is now a paid keynote speaker. And he's from India. And that to me proves great example that the world is now getting ready to listen from all kinds of stories, from all kinds of people, from all over the world. And the big advantage that with COVID is that now finally people are getting ready to really listen to speeches through the internet, which means you don't even need to travel. And all of this, I think, is great news for a speaker sitting in Afghanistan, because now you can get your message out there. So that's my first message to you. Now, for the second half of my speech, I want to talk about creativity. And I'm going to give you two examples. First, one example about creativity in books, and then one from creativity and speaking. Now, I wrote a book, it's called The Idea Book. It was included in the 100 Best Business Books of all time. And for me, creativity is to take and combine the unexpected. So instead of writing a normal book, I wrote a book that is 50% book and 50% notebook. I combined book and notebook, and here we have a book and notebook. And when people see this, they go, okay, that wasn't very creative. But the reason I did it is this. The average business book sells about 3,000 copies, which is not very much. And the reason it's not so much is because a lot of people, a lot of companies don't buy that many books. The average company buys one management book per year per employee, which means it's very hard to become that one book that companies buy in bulk. But I didn't write a book. I wrote a book in a notebook, which means instead of selling the book as a management book, instead of selling the book on the budget for management books, I sell my book as a notebook. And the budget for notebooks, the budget for stationaries in a company is huge. They buy a lot. They buy a lot of notebooks. They buy a lot of stationery. So by doing a slight shift, by putting some white pages into the book, I sell tens of thousands of books. I've sold more than 200,000 copies of this book, self-published, because I go to the customer after they book me for a speech, and instead of saying, oh, by the way, would you like to buy my book for everyone in the audience? I say, because if I did, they would say no. Instead, I say, would you like to buy a notebook for your conference so everyone can take notes during the conference? And the client goes, that's a great idea. And they buy 500 copies of the book. I tell you this story to show you that creativity doesn't have to be that you do something strange or something totally out there. It can be a small change. In my case, put just some white pages into the book, and now you can sell it as a notebook and sell tens of thousands of copies. And finally, my last example about creativity and speaking. And it's the same thing here. The trick with creativity is to be different from everyone else, to be combined what you're doing in an unexpected way. So I want to share how I did that and how I recently did that. You see, I have been doing it wrong for 20 years. For 20 years, I thought that I would position myself as Fredrik Haren, the global conference speaker on creativity and change. And for almost 20 years, that is what I did, until I realized it was wrong. And the reason it was wrong is because there are thousands of creativity speakers. There are thousands of innovation speakers. There are thousands of global speakers. And I just became one in a long list of creativity speakers. And I didn't stand out. So instead I realized I shouldn't be a creativity speaker. And instead I rebranded myself as Fredrik Haren, the Creativity Explorer. Because that's what I do. Remember, I go all around the world. Just last year, 24 different countries. I interview people in the most unexpected of places. I went to Mongolia. I lived with the nomads. I interviewed them about creativity. I went to street artists in Rome. What can we learn about creativity from you? I even went to North Korea, and I studied and interviewed North Korean businessmen to understand what can we learn about human creativity from North Korea. And by doing this, I became the Creativity Explorer. To explore means to venture into unknown territory in order to learn more about it. I went to the slums of Mumbai and interviewed the children of sex workers because I want to understand what can they teach us about human creativity. And suddenly now we have a client and they're picking a speaker and they want a creativity speaker, and they have three to choose from. Speaker A, creativity speaker. Speaker B, creativity speaker. Speaker 3, creativity explorer. Of which one do you think they're going to pick? And they go, wow, creativity explorer, that sounds much more interesting. But by the way, is he an experienced speaker? Oh yes, he has delivered 2,000 speeches in 70 countries. He spoke in 24 countries last year. Okay, great. I have the credentials, and then they pick me. I stand out. Think about this. What can you do as a speaker to stand out, not to be a speaker, but to be a thought leader in the area that you speak on, the area you are passionate about? And when I started doing this, suddenly people started talking about me in a totally different way. I am not now introduced as Fredrik Haren, the global conference speaker. I am introduced as Fredrik Haren, the creativity explorer. People write on Twitter and on YouTube, I just saw Fredrik Haren, the creativity explorer. So, and it's much more interesting for people to follow. The number of people who sign up to my newsletter has skyrocketed because no one likes to follow a speaker, but people love to follow an explorer. And that is my message to you. So how can you stand out? Now, when you choose how to stand out, this is where it's so important for you as a speaker to choose and identify your inner theme. And I am passionate about this. I think you should spend most of your time making your speech better, but you should focus extra hard on the topic you speak on, why you speak on it, why did you pick this picture, why is this topic important to you? And an inner theme is a universal message, something that everyone needs to hear. Every human being needs to hear this message across the world. So it's a universal message, but it's only true to you, meaning you are the only person who can spread this message. My inner theme is humanity to the power of ideas. Humanity to the power of ideas. What does it mean? It means I believe in the potential of humanity and I believe in the power of human creativity. I believe that every human being, regardless where you live, if it's North Korea or India or Afghanistan or Norway or Iceland, every human being should be given the opportunities to discover his or her full creative potential and be encouraged to pick up the best ideas regardless where they might come from. And if everyone did that, the world would be a much better place. And that means that regardless if I'm speaking to the CEOs of the largest banks in the world, or to the industry leaders in India, or to speakers in Afghanistan, I always have the same message. We should be more creative, we should develop our creativity, and we should learn from each other, because I believe in humanity to the power of ideas. And that means I will go and interview a taxi driver about creativity, or a president about creativity. I am passionate about human creativity. And that is my topic. And I wake up in the morning and I say, what can I do to become wiser and more knowledgeable? How can I explore human creativity? And how can I help people discover their full creative potential? That is what I do. And then I get invited to speak. My challenge to you is to question, what is that inner theme inside of you? That message that every person needs to hear, but you are the only one who can spread that message. And then hone that craft on how to truly deliver that message, and learn from all the speakers in all the different speaking associations around the world how you can become better at spreading that message. If that is Facebook ads, or if that is connecting with speaker bureaus, or if that is finding new clients, or whatever that might be. And then make sure you spread that message to as many people as you can. Being a speaker is a wonderful, wonderful job, to be able to spread your message to as many people as possible. And I hope in my short little time, have encouraged you to become as good as you can in this profession. And if you need more help, please just connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, or send me an email. I will happily help you become even better. And once again, a huge congratulations to the Professional Speaker Association of Afghanistan, and to all of you there. Now please go out and recruit more members and work together to become even better at speakers. Thank you.